Do you get anxiety? Well, if you're human, I'm sure you do. And I want to share you some deep secrets, some deep insights on what anxiety is, kind of where it stems from, what to do with that energy, and how your anxiety can actually be a superpower. If you and I have not met yet, my name is Troy, and I want to help you in areas of health, wealth, and relationships. Understanding your anxiety is a key around those areas. I'm an author, speaker, and a coach, and I use these insights I'm going to share with you right now to help people. And actually, I just got off a Zoom call with one of my clients. We talked about this subject, which kind of led me to this moment where I want to share these tips and insights with you. And I experienced this in my own journey. And at one point in my life, I had crippling anxiety to the point where I had what's called agoraphobia. What that actually means is you're locked essentially inside what you deem to be a safe place. It's usually someone's house and you don't want to go outside. And I very much had that. And unless you've experienced that level of anxiety, it's really hard to understand, to the point where like everything became a threat. Like the kids in the neighborhood became a threat. Something was going to happen. They were going to break their ankle on my sidewalk, and then I'd be sued and whatever. It's like all like your mind just goes into this explosive reality to essentially keep you safe. And a lot of things are going on here. And what I want you to kind of understand is your brain is designed for survival over success. Because of the evolutionary process, this is like the primary drivers to survive. And so typically a human, when you're in front of people, right? Think of like the greatest fear people have, to be in front of people. It's because you're usually doing one of two things in a primitive, evolutionary standpoint. You're either on trial or you're leading. And so oftentimes the brain in those moments is sensing when you're in front of someone, you're using your voice, that you're on trial, so it hides. This is an example to show you how primitive the mind works. It's very unconscious. And so oftentimes what happens in life is you experience pain, you experience trauma. These can happen at any age, right? From whenever, right? And what happens in these moments is an imprint takes place. Like this deep memory gets imprinted into your conscious, your psyche, let's say. And what's essentially happening is the brain in its innocence and youth around this time, or a better word than youth even is it's being naive. It builds like a defense mechanism. So say that, you were in the grocery store, you lost sight of your parents, and, you're 5 years old. For a 5-year-old kid to be lost in the grocery store is traumatic. For you to look at that now, you're like, that's not that big of a deal. Like, so what? It's a grocery store. What's going to happen? But in that moment, it was your world. It was everything. You literally thought you were going to die. And so you might get an imprint around that says it's not safe to be in public environments, large group environments. And then one day later, you're an adult now and you have social anxiety. You still don't like to go into these big environments. Okay. You see there's a correlation building. So what I want you to really feel into, you'll hear me use that word a lot, feel into this, because that's what you're doing a lot, is you're connecting with these deeper parts. A lot of different concepts going on, right? But you're feeling into your nervous system. You're feeling these old stories, the conditions of the mind, what's taking place. And so in this instance that we're using, the social anxiety, you would see or feel essentially anxiety. And so, you're in a moment, maybe you're at a concert and you're just anxious the whole time. You're kind of in your body, you're in your breath. You might notice these biological responses, right? Like shallow breathing, you're tight, you're tense, your eyes are on high alert. These are all signs of you're being triggered, which essentially stems to a trauma response. I'm being triggered, and it's correlating to this old experience. And so what you would do ideally in this moment is you recognize anxiety. Okay. And in this instant, your anxiety becomes your teacher, it becomes your medicine. And it's a very beautiful thing. It becomes a gift for you in this instance. And so you might go, whoa, I noticed the shallow breathing, the tightness. What's going on? What am I afraid of? Well, there's a lot of people. Okay. A lot of people. All right. So what does that feel like to me? It feels scary. I feel uneasy. I feel like something bad might happen. Oh, I feel that in my chest, my heart. What does this remind me of? Where does this come from? And then maybe you'll start to feel a similar moment. It reminds me of high school when, I got singled out in the crowd and everyone made fun of me, or I got lost from my friends, or it goes back to that moment where you're in the grocery store and you got separated from your parents. And you're like, whoa, damn, I feel that motion. I feel that energy. And so your anxiety is actually a doorway taking you deep down into your past, right? And revealing something that got imprinted. And the way I want you to think of it is like an old operating system, like for a computer. It's like Windows version 1, Windows version 2. And in that moment, that operating system worked, right? It kept you safe maybe for a period of time. So you got lost in the grocery store when you were 5, and maybe for a while you stayed close to your parents. You hung, right next to their side. By the time you're 7, 8 years old, if you were to get lost again, you'd be able to find them, wouldn't you? And so now ideally that operating system would get upgraded, go to Windows version 4 or whatever it is, just using metaphors here. And so you're going back to this moment and you're rewiring the operating system, because what you can see in this instance is that this old operating system no longer serves you. In fact, it's holding you back. That's key, right? It's holding you back. And you start to realize how many of these you actually might have. And you realize that you might have a lot of outdated operating systems or old imprints that turned into this way of being. And they start to craft your reality. And then what you realize is you're creating a reality based on your fears versus what you actually want in life, aren't you? So now go back to my example where I had agoraphobia. And then when you go through childhood, you have these challenges. As an adult, maybe you have other challenges and maybe more challenges. And so you're kind of stacking on all this trauma on top of each other. And then one day you wake up and you're afraid to even leave your house. And so your anxiety has stifled you. It's got you stuck. But what is anxiety? It's actually, I almost think of it's like not even real. It's just this like voice going, hey, I'm scared. Hey, I'm worried about that. It's an energy. But if I change my relationship with anxiety, because what I did for years, and what a lot of people do, is I didn't want to have anxiety. I thought anxiety was weakness or a bad thing. And so you feel those anxious moments, and then you do something to distract yourself. Could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be sex, could be a variety of things. For me, it was work most of the time. I just worked more. And I remember realizing one day, I'm like, dude, you're no different than like a drug addict. My drug just happens to be work. And because work, you can get a pat on the back for, no one says anything. Versus if I was out doing drugs or harming myself in a really bad way, then it's like, oh, look at you. And so it actually helped me like drop a lot of judgment, because I was like, this is just my mechanism to distract myself. And I believe most people are in distraction. You're in actually like a coping paradigm, right? Different subject, but you're in this coping paradigm where you're unconscious to exactly what we're talking about right now. So you're coping. You're just trying to cope in life, right? And what I'm about to share is literally life-changing, right? So you go from this coping paradigm where you feel energy or you're unconscious of this energy, and so you find yourself chasing distractions, working out, working more, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, to having more awareness, more consciousness around it, and then seeing anxiety as a mechanism, as a gift. And you go, wait a second, I feel this today. I feel this energy. What might be going on here? What's the story behind it? And then you feel into it. You feel what's going on. You feel the body. You feel that tension. And many times I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, damn, I feel anxiety. I feel anxious. That's my cue. Like, oh, something's going on. Something's up. Let me sit with this. And then you go sit with that energy. And then it becomes your teacher. And then you get upgraded. You're upgrading that software system. And so you take these old, outdated Windows 2, Windows 4, and you upgrade them. New operating systems. And then your anxiety, your past, your trauma, your pain become your teachers. And you literally start to upgrade the way you see your reality. So it's very powerful. It can literally change your life. There's other steps going on, right? It's not like an overnight thing. It's an ongoing process. One like additional parts of this, right, is you want to get really good. You notice we talked about like the sensitivity around the body. You want to get really good at noticing when you're in those anxiety triggered type of states where you're being like, a trigger essentially is like, it's like part of the mind is picking up something from the past, right? And the mind is not present. It's always in the future trying to predict the past. That's why learning to become present to the moment is really powerful, because you're in the here, in the now, right? You're not responding as much. And so by doing that, creating more awareness around that, you recognize those triggers easier. And so you notice like, oh man, my breathing is like really shallow. Oh, my like shoulders are tight. Oh, whatever. And then you kind of go into yourself. What am I feeling? Oh, I feel like I have to be this way right now. I need to be perfect. I feel like, I'm scared of people laughing at me. I'm scared of getting made fun of. And you kind of like, again, go into those stories, recondition them, build them up. So you're getting really good at that body awareness. Understand that the mind is in story. Telling you something about you, about the reality around you right now. And oftentimes it's completely false. It's outdated. And the mind likes to work in these simple like frameworks. So essentially it'll be like, might be like when you're in a social environment, like the way the mind works is so simplified. It'll be like, people are dangerous. People are bad. This place is bad. For something to be a truth, it has to be true 100% of the time. So is that true? Is it 100% of the time this place is bad? People are bad 100% of the time? No, no, absolutely not. So you can start to like loosen that frame of reality. Okay, it's not so bad. Things are all right. We're going to be okay. You're changing the narrative. You're loosening your frame around these things. And so what your goal really is, one of your goals into life, I believe, is to be loose, is to be fluid, is to be relaxed, to be able to go with the flow. So how do you do that when you're stuck in this like trauma response, these tight frames of anxiety? You're like bouncing off of everything in life. You're moving and navigating through life to avoid your fears. And therefore, you're not creating a reality out of what you actually want. You're creating a reality out of what you don't want. I remember looking at my own life and like, it was like I literally saw this visual. It's like I had built a house of sticks. I built the house. It was made out of sticks because it was built out of my fears. I was like, dude, I don't want that. I want to build like a beautiful reality, a reality of what I actually want in life. And so a lot of this journey was unpacking this and moving into this. And then it opens you up to a new paradigm, a new way of seeing, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. So I wanted to share these insights with you. They're very transformative. It can be a lot to grasp. In fact, I mentioned to my client, like, it's really hard just to kind of throw this information at someone. It's almost like telling somebody who's never had kids what it's like to parent. You're like, I kind of get it. Until you like changed diapers and had many nights where you like were up all night, you couldn't sleep, then you get what it's like to be a parent. And there's many of those instances just like that for you in your journey that we can't necessarily relate to. But I'm sure at some point you felt anxiety. And even if you feel like maybe you haven't, I would encourage you to feel into your body. Just notice these signals, these little signposts that are kind of coming up. It's the intelligence of your nervous system. Remember, you're an energetic being. You have over 1 trillion nerve cells. At least that's what I've heard. I don't know if anyone's counted that much, but at least 1 trillion nerve cells in your body. And your nerves are designed to feel. They're sensitive. You're an energetic being. And so oftentimes what happens is you get dysregulated. Your nervous system gets dysregulated because of the past. And then you're an adult, much like I was, and you are hypersensitive to everything. Now, sensitivity is a beautiful thing. It's one of the best creations of God, I believe, in the human, right? Because to be sensitive means to have sensation. So as you like get your nervous system regulated, then that sensitivity becomes a strength. Whereas right now you may feel like I'm overly sensitive, or the world, the society around me is just too much. It's because you have a dysregulated nervous system. It's connected to the stories, which are stuck in the past, an old, outdated operating system. So I want to encourage you to upgrade your operating system. You'll see a change in how you respond to things. Essentially, like that's a whole concept too. You'll learn to respond versus react to situations. When you're dysregulated in your nervous system, you will react to things. You'll be very explosive because it'll feel like a dynamite stick. In fact, someone I was talking with, we were like, you'll say things like, I hate this, I hate that. And I was like, think of how explosive a word that is. I hate this. It's like a big defense mechanism. But when you're loose, you're relaxed, you're not exploding, you're responding versus reacting, you won't use words like that. And therefore, then, your words paint your reality so much, your words will change. It's an entire thing that is worth unpacking and worth feeling into. There's that word again. I hope this helped. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff. Head over to my website if you haven't already. There's in the description below. Go and click that link into the description below. I have some good content on my website, absolutely free. And more importantly, you'll be in the loop for more stuff coming up. I have something really exciting I'm going to be announcing, probably not for another few weeks, but stay in the loop. I'm going to announce some really cool stuff that will be designed to help you up. That's what I want to do. I want to add value to your life. Thanks for tuning in. Love you so much. Here for you, here for this journey. Until next time.